They say many hands make light work, but have you ever seen anything quite like this? If you want to find out exactly what's going on there, climb aboard this special 30th episode of Things You Will See for the First Time in Your Life. Thank you all for tuning into so many episodes so far. Your support for this series is amazing, and I hope you enjoy watching these weird and wonderful sights as much as I enjoy putting them together. Now, enough of the mushy stuff, let's get right into it. There aren't many places more mysterious than the ocean. It can be beautiful, dangerous, and downright surprising. Just like in May 2021, when Australian diver and photographer Jules Casey was exploring the blue depths along Victoria's Mornington Peninsula in Australia, where she gained an unexpected companion while snapping shots with her GoPro. It appeared this cutie was intrigued by Jules's camera, likely the lens or lights specifically, so much so that it just couldn't stop following her around. Pufferfish, like this one, are very common in the area, and this little fella seemed determined to stand out from the crowd. Popping up for a quick selfie with the diver, Jules joked that it looked as though the pufferfish was whispering sweet nothings in her ear as it swam calmly beside her. But this isn't Jules's only brush with a curious underwater creature. And this next one was even clingier than her photobombing friend. After bumping into this little octopus a few times over the course of several weeks, Jules decided that this could be the start of a beautiful friendship. However, the little fellow seemed to want to take her back into his den and wasn't keen on letting go of their handshake. The surprised diver shared how she could feel every suction cup on her skin as she carefully strained to pry her digits away from this surprisingly strong tentacle trap. Realizing she wasn't in any real danger, Jules remained calm as the octopus explored her hand and eventually let go. I guess having a breathing apparatus helps you to not freak out in a situation like that. It's not quite as terrifying as that one scene from Lord of the Rings, but you have to respect the little guy for trying. Still, I'm not so sure I'd be so calm in the same situation. Would you? From underwater critters now to land mammals, if you thought your quarantine hair was bad, get a load of this poor guy.
Come away, come behind. Chloe and then brought up.
You're beautiful.
I
I know, he's going to get hit by the door. I just love how inquisitive he is.
Meet Barak, a rogue, overgrown sheep who's been dodging the shears for quite some time. In February 2021, locals were shocked to find a bizarre-looking creature that turned out to be a merino sheep that had been roaming around the wilderness of the Australian state of Victoria for 5 whole years. Completely covered by a mound of overgrown wool, Barak's fleece had sprouted into a whopping 78 pounds. That's roughly enough wool to make 61 sweaters or 490 pairs of men's socks. To put this into perspective, the average sheep's fleece will grow about 9.7 pounds before shearing, which equates to just under 8 sweaters or 62 pairs of socks. After hoofing it back to Edgar's Mission Farm Sanctuary, Barak's rescuers set to work on removing the mountain of wool he'd grown. It usually takes mere minutes to remove a sheep's coat, but bulbous Barak was so covered in wool, it took volunteers a whole hour to set him free from his fluffy fortress. Ending up with one of the only decent quarantine haircuts I've seen, Barak went through the most epic transformation. Merino sheep usually have their fleece sheared once a year, and the sheer size and weight of Barak's 5-year accumulation of wool begs the question, if Barak hadn't been found when he was, would his coat really have just kept on growing forever? Well, it turns out it probably would have, as long as he lived, that is. Almost all year long, this type of sheep will continue to pack on the fleece, and if it goes too long without shearing, they risk getting stuck on their backs, unable to get up under the weight. Thankfully, Barak avoided this fate and is now healthy, and of course, looking super fresh thanks to his rescuers. Onto something even more hair-raising now. Check this bizarre sight out. Now, if you're wondering what the heck that was, no, it's not a mutated creature from your latest nightmare. It's actually a group of hairy caterpillars. But what on earth are they doing? Whenever the cameraman makes a sound, the caterpillars jump in perfect synchronization, reacting to the sudden noise. Well, as it turns out, this odd behavior is actually a survival mechanism. Various studies have concluded that caterpillars flinch when exposed to sudden, loud, high-pitched sounds because of the sound's similarity to those emitted by other animals that pose them threats. The flinching motion is thought to help ward off potential attacks from parasitic flies or wasps that may come noisily buzzing over to lay eggs inside the caterpillars' bodies. Yikes, I'd definitely prefer a little boogie to that. And despite this reaction to the noise, these caterpillars don't wriggle away, as once they realize there's no real danger, they relax again. While this dance party may be more of a defensive measure, it still looks like a pretty awesome rave.
Caterpillar rave.
After all that wiggling, I'm just about ready for a good sit down, and it looks as though someone else is too.
Tá muito bonito sentado, meu Deus do céu! Vocês ficam sentados como se fosse mocinho. Tá bonito, filho.
According to his owner, this peculiar kitty named Rodriguino always sits like this on his special miniature cat-sized sofa. Unique though he may be, countless pics online prove Rodriguino isn't the only kitty who likes to sit like us. Although you may not see this odd imitation of a human sitting position as a comfortable stance for a cat, in fact, it totally can be. Cats are incredibly flexible and have very strong, stretchy spines that allow them to comfortably get into all sorts of positions. Any cat owners will know exactly what I mean. So the next time your fluffy friend takes a more upright position, just know it's probably not copying you because it thinks you're so darn cool. It's simply stretching out like it owns the place, as per usual. On average, it takes around 7 months to build a house in the United States. But what if I told you there's a creature out there that can build one in just 30 seconds? What you're seeing is a sand bubbler crab in action. These amazing 1 centimeter long creatures live on the sandy beaches of the tropical and subtropical areas of the Indo-Pacific region, such as Australia, India, and in the case of this clip, Thailand. The sand bubbler crab's amazing construction skills are, surprisingly, all thanks to its mouth, which has evolved into a kind of internal cement mixer. To feed, the sand bubbler slurps up sand, which mixes with the water it keeps stored in its gill chambers, and tiny bits of digestible organic matter come loose from the sand grains. After those organic morsels are ingested, the rest of the sand is spat out, leaving behind the neatest ball of sand puke you've ever seen. As sand bubblers are constantly scanning for food, they often leave chains of these beautifully bobbly patterns in their wake. And it just so happens that the little sand bubbles produced by this foraging method also work extremely well as a building material. As the rising tide approaches, these tiny crabs use their regurgitated sand to create igloo-like structures, providing them a little bubble of air while they wait for the low tide to re-emerge. Then, they do their thing all over again. But while sand bubbler crabs are happy to spend much of their time hiding away, dogs love nothing more than being taken into the great outdoors for a walk. This playful pup from Queensland, Australia, however, decided it was time to turn the tables and show exactly how much he'd learned from his owner.
Okay, come back now. Come on.
Lauren McKinnon was giving Campy the horse his usual wash when 10-week-old PJ decided to take things into his own paws, or jaw, and his equine accomplice seemed all too happy to follow his tiny friend's lead. Grabbing onto Campy's rope, PJ led him off around the cattle farm they call home, asserting his newfound position as resident pet walker by completely ignoring Lauren's calls for him to come back.
Okay, come back now. Come on.
For PJ, pushing his luck is a natural part of growing up, but there are other critters out there who just seem to be rascals for the sake of it, like these little thieves who clearly have no respect for personal property. Yep, what you're witnessing here is possibly the world's tiniest gold heist. These pirate ants got caught in the act when they tried to make off with a gold bracelet, but not before its owner had already spent all morning looking around the house for it. While it's unclear how far these insect bandits lugged their considerable prize before they were apprehended, it's still seriously impressive they could lift it to begin with. Ants like these, which individually weigh between 1 and 5 milligrams, have the capability to lift between 10 and 50 times their own body weight. With gold being one of the densest and heaviest elements at around 19 grams per cubic centimeter, even with their super strength, it's no wonder so many co-conspirators were needed to pull this antic off. Why the ants were so interested in the gold bracelet in the first place remains unknown, though I have my suspicions they may have an entire black market operation going on. So next time something valuable of yours goes missing, don't go straight to the cops. Check your backyard first. Those gold-fingered ants might not have exactly been the slickest of thieves, but this next clip is a true masterclass in stealth. This fisherman had no idea he was far from alone in the blue as he peacefully fished off the coast of St. Petersburg in Florida. Unknowingly landing himself in some hot water, he didn't notice that there was a massive group of stingrays swooping right behind him. Lucky for him, he avoided feeling the sting on this occasion as the stealthy crew collectively swerved around him. The man flying the drone that captured this stunning scene, Michael McCarthy, identified the roundup of rays as cow-nose stingrays, a species named for the unusual cow-like shape of their heads. These rays do indeed have venomous stingers, but luckily for that blissfully unaware fisherman, they tend to be pretty shy around humans, which might explain their politely restrained swimming path. As peaceful as the scene appears, it's a pretty alarming reminder that you never know how much danger you could be in, even in 2 or 3 feet of water. And while they may be considered a minimal risk to humans, cow-nose stingrays can sometimes be found swimming in groups, known as fevers, of up to 10,000. Lucky for that Florida fisherman, the other members of this particular group seem to have taken a vacation on this particular day, keeping those enormous numbers to a more manageable and less deadly level. Now, it's understandable that someone might not be aware of what's going on behind their back, but there's no excuse when something's right in front of your face. Take those like and subscribe buttons, for example. Show them some love and attention, and you'll get a whole host of amazing content on the regular in return. All done? Great, now let's get back to some amazing things you'll see for the first time in your life. Drones. As potentially creepy as they may be, like when your weird neighbor flies one outside your bedroom window, they can also be an amazing tool when it comes to capturing moments that simply can't be seen from our grounded perspective. They're also handy for seeing places we'd really love to see, but wouldn't necessarily even want to go. Take an active volcano, for instance. This astonishing footage was captured by expert drone operator Bjorn Steinbeck Christiansen in April 2021, who flew his digital eyes over the Fagradalsfjall volcano located in southwest Iceland. Part of the Krýsuvík volcanic system, Fagradalsfjall began erupting in March 2021 for the first time in more than 900 years. With the historic moment begging to be captured, Bjorn was straight on the task. But getting so close to the lava, which can reach a scorching 1,850 degrees Fahrenheit, his little drone didn't stand much chance of surviving very long. As it descended into the inferno, sharing its journey via livestream, the drone actually started melting. As the plastic casing slowly melts right off, the frame rate begins to jump a little before the drone eventually gives up completely and the stream ends. Off camera, the drone then plummeted into the lava, never to be seen again. And while the flying camera's brave mission into the inferno proved to be its last, the fact that it was live streaming the whole time meant the footage was available forever. This fact was more than enough to convince Bjorn that his device's unfortunate sacrifice was all worthwhile. Rest in peace, little drone. Staying on the topic of extreme temperature now, but with a slight twist, let me ask you this. When you think of snow, what do you imagine? You probably picture snowmen, woolly hats, sledding, and maybe a nice hot cup of cocoa. Chances are the last thing you'd mentally connect with snow is a desert, especially the hottest desert on Earth, the Sahara. Well, here's the kicker. As strange as it may seem, it snows there too. What you're looking at right now is the aftermath of a snowy downpour in the Sahara Desert. These intricate patterns were formed when snow began to thaw in the desert, just outside the Saharan town of Ain Sefra in Algeria. But wait a sec, how did this snow get there in the first place? In nature, there's a general rule that wind flows clockwise around areas of high pressure in the northern hemisphere. This means that every now and again, chill winds from the Arctic get caught in the airflow and are guided southward towards the bottom of Europe and northern Africa. Algeria's proximity to France and Spain means that it's particularly susceptible to winds from this direction. But while you clearly need cold air for there to be snow, you need moisture too. And given that deserts are essentially the driest places on Earth, snow in a desert is super rare. Even so, the town of Ain Sefra gets around 0.55 inches of rainfall in its coldest month, January. And while that doesn't seem like much, in 2021 it was enough to produce a minor snowstorm. Those mesmerizing, rippling patterns occurred as the desert wind buffeted the melting snow, forming distinct, wavy lines as individual sand grains and ice particles were blown along. This bout of snowfall is only the fourth the town has seen in 42 years, first in 1979, then in 2017 and 2018. With these rare sights seemingly becoming more common as the global climate changes, this town seems to be all set from a late visit for their very own Sandy Claus. Things that occur on a very rare basis are often marked with significance, but it's not always as pleasant as the Sahara's sporadic snowfall. Some rare, bizarre occurrences instead induce nothing but fear in some people. Of course, fear protects us from harm in the face of danger, and we need it to survive. But sometimes it can get a little out of hand. An irrational fear, or phobia, can lead some people to take strangely extreme precautions, like this. Meet Jane Piran, a woman so terrified of bugs, specifically cicadas, that she's gone to hilariously drastic lengths to keep them at bay. While no one's exactly sure why, every 17 years, specific broods of cicadas swarm several U.S. states in horrifically large numbers, including Jane's home state of Ohio. Jane first encountered the bugs while visiting her now husband in Cincinnati in 1987. That year, another brood of cicadas were emerging after 17 long years living underground in nymph form, and Jane was utterly horrified by them. After one flew in through her car window, Jane was so freaked out that she's had an enduring fear of bugs ever since. The latest cicada apocalypse, spanning from a brood known as Brood X, came out in full force in early 2021, but this time, Jane was ready. She came up with a creative solution to protect herself from the belligerent bugs, using little more than household objects. A standard $5 umbrella covered with 2 transparent shower curtains constitutes her full-body shield she uses to protect herself as she goes about her day, making sure no cicadas ever make contact with her. And perhaps it's overkill, but if it works, I guess. While work commitments keep Jane in cicada-ridden Ohio for now, she actually looks forward to the next cicada season, as by then she plans to be retired and to have moved anywhere in the world where cicadas aren't found. But while Jane's fear of cicadas may be understandable for some folks, this next clip suggests there may be another animal you should be looking over your shoulder for: monkeys on bicycles. Sounds crazy, right? Well, see for yourself.
Hey, mas! Hey! Yo.
Have you ever seen anything stranger? All was calm on this narrow street in the Indonesian city of Surabaya until this bike-riding monkey came out of nowhere and seemingly tried to kidnap this toddler. Still young enough to be in diapers, the toddler was helplessly dragged down the street in front of stunned onlookers. Thankfully, aside from being understandably freaked out, the toddler wasn't hurt. But what caused this strange incident in the first place? Well, buckle up, because all is not as it seems in this bizarre video. Despite initial appearances, it turns out there's some real monkey business going on behind the scenes. In the opening seconds of the clip, the monkey's handler can be seen just at the top of the frame, and if you look closely, you can see that the monkey actually has some kind of cord or chain tied to it. As the monkey rides closer to the children sitting on the bench, the handler yanks on the leash to stop it straying too far. However, being thrown off balance, the creature's natural instinct is to grab onto the closest thing it could, which so happened to be this diaper-wearing toddler. On closer inspection, it's also clear that it's not exactly the monkey who's totally responsible for dragging the child down the street. In fact, the fellow yanking the restraint the monkey is attached to is doing most of the legwork. The monkey's feet aren't even touching the ground. It seems in trying to get his monkey back, the owner inadvertently acquired a child. We've all been there, right? Totally normal. Social media users from Indonesia have explained that the monkey, along with its little bicycle, are part of a popular traditional entertainment act known as Topeng Monyet, which translates to masked monkey. While animal rights activists' intervention has led to the ban of topeng monyet in several areas of Indonesia, accidental monkey robberies are clearly still a problem in Surabaya. But while the kid in the video might have taken an unpleasant tumble, at least they have something to be grateful for. That little monkey on a bike could have always been a gorilla on a Harley-Davidson. Which of these things amazed you the most? And if you're hungry for more incredible sights, why not check out another video in this series? Until next time, thanks for watching.